Live.
Yay. Yay, especially because you can hear us.
Oh, we are now streaming live on Facebook.
That's great.
Hello, everyone.
Yay. We're back.
So we are, here we are, we're all back, and we can actually hear you guys.
Yeah, I apologized the other day for that, but now I'm seeing what's really going on with this computer. So here we are with the real deal, the real mic, everything's going on.
Excellent, I love it. Well, it's nice when we get to hear you.
Thank you.
I know you guys are beautiful to look at, but you know, you have nice, important things to say too. So last time we had a great conversation, and we were just about to talk about the sexier stuff, and really we just couldn't hear you.
Yeah.
So
we made a good judgment call.
So yes, we shifted it until today, and so that we can actually hear all this great advice that you have for our community.
All right.
Thank you.
So what do you think is sort of the most important thing that people can know right now about sexual intimacy and their relationships amidst this virus?
How to be intimate during the virus.
Well, intimacy is a lot more than sexual. So, you know, I think intimacy is probably not the hard part, but you know, maybe the sexual intimacy is something. Well, I do know that some people are struggling with the sexual intimacy. I know I had been asked to be on a radio show, it was a week or two ago, and I had posted on my wall, you know, what's going on for people. And there was a lot of stuff around, you know, having a compromised immune system. Hello, Fred.
It's Fred Abster.
Yes. He says, love you.
I love you too.
Exclamation mark, lots of hearts. Another exclamation mark.
Hi, Fred.
Oh, and yeah. Hi, Zoran and Gina. Perfect.
Hi, Gina. Hi, Zoran.
We got people coming on. Beautiful.
Great.
Yeah. So people were talking about like, what do you do if we have an like an immunity issue, and you know, the person with the immunity issue is like, you know, I would like this intimacy, and the person without it is like, I don't want to because that's too scary, right? Or, you know, people not being in the same home and it being long distance. Just what is, you know, how can they do this when they're all stressed out and in fear and arguing, that kind of stuff. So I know we talked a bit about the communication piece and stuff last time. Getting into the intimacy, that sort of is some of the things that were showing up for people. So I'd love to hear you guys' take on it.
The first thing I thought about when you were talking about the immune system compromise was that cartoon that's going around that says sex doggy style is okay, but sex front to front is not okay. Like I've seen that cartoon, you know, like in the age of coronavirus, there's like X or
Totally, right? This is okay. This is not okay. I know. Did you guys see the posting I did about the Belgium government? Oh my gosh. You're not allowed to have non-essential sex.
Non-essential. What is non-essential sex?
With more than 3 people indoors. So I'm like, apparently outdoor orgies are totally good.
These are unavoidables.
I know. So, but you know what? These are like real things. I mean, this is real conversation. I mean, we've got a government official saying that there's somehow essential sexuality and not non-essential. And some people were like, well, maybe that means with their partner. But, you know, some people have more than one partners. Some people, you know, choose not to have sort of the traditional escalator type relationship. Right. You know, like there's so many different ways that people are intimate with one another and what's considered essential and non-essential for them. I mean, we've got people that are asexual. Like there's just such a vast spectrum.
You know, I think we the conversation probably should start with what are your boundaries and knowing your boundaries, because without really clear boundaries that have been communicated and agreed upon, intimacy is very difficult to achieve.
Yeah,
So
totally.
The idea that I would like to, put forward and assert is that once you know your own boundaries and you're able to communicate them, everybody then understands that, at least, that this is where my boundary is. And when it comes to the coronavirus, you've got to learn how to, you got to get the information right. How do you close the loop? Laurie and I have closed the loop for the last 11 days.
11 days.
And she has a housemate, Bill, who's a dear friend of mine and we love, but Bill has also closed the loop. So we know where we're at. We know what surfaces we've touched. We know the protocol for coming back into the house and doing all the things that we're supposed to do. And that's a boundary that we created for ourselves so that we know that we're optimizing our self quarantine. Like we know this is how
none of us are putting each other at risk.
Right.
Yeah.
So then the only other people we would interact with, whether they're our friends, our lovers, whoever, would be people who went through the same exact process.
Right.
So for 14 days, they would also not go anywhere, or they would follow the same exact protocols that we were following. Even then, I mean, you can't be certain, but that would be closing the loop, would mean closing the loop in terms of we did the same procedure you did.
Yeah.
And so we would then be able to not only have a virtual glass of wine with you, but we might have a real one,
Right.
So that's one.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is, I mean, I'm thinking about this, what you said, someone has a compromised immune system and the partner doesn't. I think the person with a compromised immune system, I think whose ever boundary it is, like if it's the partner who doesn't want to have sex with the person who has a compromised immune system, I think that needs to be honored right now. I don't think that, and the thing is, the person with a compromised immune system, but this could be anybody, I would suggest to not take that personally. This is not a personal pandemic. This is transpersonal. Not one of us caused it, and not one of us is holding it against each other. This is a transpersonal situation. There were people who fear shamed me because I created a boundary.
Yeah.
It didn't come from fear. It came from being responsible. Like I read an article and decided this was the most responsible thing I could do. Self-quarantine. I told Michael about it. He agreed. I told Bill about it. He agreed. It's like, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So,
agreed. Yeah.
No one can take it personally. It's not personal.
Yeah. And it's
Hello, Patricia.
It's also not a boundary in this case. It's not a boundary that's going to last, forever. It's just for a period of time. And there are other ways to be intimate. I mean, you don't always have to have sexual intercourse to achieve intimacy, right? A deep conversation,
Or writing a fantasy. So one of the things we used to do early in our relationship, one thing he told me, very early in the relationship, I was teaching ISTA in Costa Rica, we met. And then the very beginning of that next February, whatever year that was, I was going to Costa Rica and we had just met and I said, I like this guy. And I sent him a picture of my room in Costa Rica. And I said, if you do ISTA, like you could be here. And he wrote me back and he said, something you need to know about me is if you're not like right in my attention, I'm gone. Like, I don't like, you got to keep yourself in my attention. Yeah. But that was so honest. It was so cool. Yeah. I went, okay. But what he didn't know is I had sent a Valentine's card and other things were going to come into his attention.
Right.
Yeah.
But one of the things we started to do really early on was write a chapter to each other of a sexy book.
Okay. So do you go back and forth with the chapter?
Yeah.
Like you do one chapter, then he does one?
Yes.
So you're like building.
Yeah. So I wrote the first chapter and I sent it to him. And then he was like, wow. And then he wrote it answering a response chapter. And we didn't stop. We have something like 16 chapters now.
Nice.
That we wrote of a book, and we did it all.
When are you publishing this book?
Next. That's in line with the books.
3 books away.
I I
Yeah.
totally agree with you guys, in terms of like the fantasy thing. That's an exercise I've given clients so many times, 30 days of fantasy sharing. And it's just each day somebody shares a fantasy with the other, and you can share it in any kind of creative way that you want to. It could be sexy text first thing in the morning. It could be, you can time things really well.
Exactly.
That's right.
And it makes the day quite interesting. And then the other person just says thank you, and that's it. So there's no judgment of the fantasy, there's no nothing. And some end up being a huge turn on. Some you're just like, wow, I never knew that.
Yeah.
And by the end of the 30 days, you literally have like, a plethora of things that you can now explore for like the rest of the year.
Exactly. Right.
So great.
So that's what happened with us.
Yeah.
And we created that in the first year that we were together. And it lasted. It went into the second year. And we haven't written any chapters lately because we're doing this stuff now,
Yeah.
but we're doing a lot of things. So I would say that's one really good thing. And if he hadn't have told me that, like, I don't know if I would have written it, but I wrote it and I sent it off for what it was worth. And then
Totally.
he responded really positively. So,
Well, and I knew that, out of sight, out of mind. And so she would go off for a week or 2 weeks to go and teach Anista. And I let her know, I told her, these are the facts. I know myself pretty well. And this is one of the things that I need from you in order to really keep you in the forefront of my life and my mind. I think for the most part, men are single focused, like we can focus on one thing at a time. And so if she wanted me to be responding to her or, put herself in front of me a little more.
Yeah.
And she got it. She was like, oh yeah. And I was saying to her, I want that. Like, I need that from you. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, if you wanted me to spend time with you, I wasn't in that vein at all. It was more like, I need you to really, get in front of me more because I want to spend more time with you. And then I started actually responding and connecting with her first as well. So we're working together. And what Laurie and I have discovered is seduction. It's a team sport.
It is. And like, big bravo to you guys for really having that clear communication, because I find so many couples try and navigate this realm without actually talking about it. And they don't actually know what their partner wants. And sometimes the partner doesn't actually know what they want. So that's why they haven't communicated it.
Yeah.
Or I know I get, lots of feedback where, a man asks one of my female clients at some point, wow, I would just like to give you like the world. What is it that you would like? And they're like, I don't know. I have to call Leanne. Like, I need a session immediately. And then they call and they're like, I don't know what I want. Like, I've dreamed of this moment when, this luscious human being is going to come into my life and say, let me give you the world. And they're like, and I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I think that's just such a great point that you guys are bringing up, is essentially making like actually know what you want, like what works for you, like how do you navigate in a relationship? What are your needs, wants, and desires? And then, actually articulating that to your partner so you can actually, create that energy together.
Yeah. Well, we actually, so two things. One is what you said, that they don't actually communicate. So let's just say that the bottom line here is communication. And the bottom line behind that is self-communication. Like, if I could have anything I want, what do I want?
Exactly. Yeah.
And what don't I want? And like, let's be really clear about it so that I actually get what I want. The universe has everything.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah. And yes and no, not the maybe zone, right? It's like, if it's a maybe, that's probably some other time when I figure it out, or it's just a firm no, right? But it's a no for now, or a no usually until it changes, if it changes. We all evolve. So, a no now doesn't mean it might not change into a yes at some other point. But, I think yes and no is really a big thing too. I think a lot of people, I know I used to live in a very I was a people pleaser. So I lived in a very maybe zone in my relationships. Well, maybe I'll just try that. I'll just do that. And then I found myself just really exhausted, getting resentful years into a relationship. And it was because I was doing things that were against my boundaries, because I didn't really have any. Yeah. I was just in this maybe easy zone, go with the flow, but not really.
Yeah.
Well, Laurie tells people, you know, when you meet someone new, go ahead and tell them.
Yeah, I like to tell people when you meet someone new, say no right away to something, anything. Want to go to the movies? No.
I'm with you.
No.
I could just, you would be a real pain in the butt. I could see with that, Laurie. Like,
Well, in our case, I was the one that came
he
up.
was the one. He
I'm
had
the one that
more
said no
no's.
first.
He had
oh,
more
you guys are a great match.
And as soon as I look at it like this, if I
She
say
loved it.
no,
I bet you she did. It was done.
if I say no and I'm heard, the
Yep.
person hears and honors my no, then my no isn't as it was before. Like I just need to know that someone's going to hear my no, not try to convince me out of it, not try to process me, not try to manipulate me. They're just
Yeah.
going to hear no and we go along. So he actually was the first person to say no in our relationship. And I was just like, oh, I can get that. He said to me, you know, I'm not good in relationship. Don't try to have a relationship with me because I lose myself. I kind of
Dilute.
I dilute into a relationship and I'm not going to do that. So I don't want to be in a relationship. And I said to him, oh, no problem. I'm not going to let you do that with me.
Yeah.
You know, that's not going to happen. That is not something you need to worry about because I don't need to suck you, you know, your energy, and I don't need to be with you every moment of the day. And he's like, I can't be with you all the time. I was like, great.
I don't know that I said it that way, but I was very clear in my no, and it was the boundaries that were set between us, and having to share those things that, you know, here's what I need, and it really, the conversation kind of it goes like this. So if I could just offer like a pro tip, the conversation kind of goes like this: here's what I need, okay, and this is my boundary. What do you need? What do you need from me so that you can give me what I'm asking for? Right? It's really it's a total collaboration. And it's like what Laurie and I say about seduction. Seduction is a team sport. Well, so is this.
Totally.
And so I was able to say, you know what, I dilute in relationships. I mean, it was a really good conversation. And I said, you know, and the thing that I know about me is that if I don't have my own sovereign space, like I need to be in my own space, then I find myself diluting and the relationship typically goes bad. And I don't want it. And so communicating it like that, she got it. She was like, oh, I get it. And then I told her, look, I need 2-3 days a week to just be alone and not, you know,
with very little communication,
Yeah.
with very little anything, just respect that. And I just went, okay, that's
Yeah.
great.
And I was fortunate.
But you knew.
You're not like most women
Oh.
in the sense that she,
That's nice.
and this is not an insult to women. She is unique and she's completely sovereign. Like I love the fact that she is who she is, devoid of me, and I am who I am, devoid of her. It's just, we're just two sovereign beings who are really moving through life in a flow and a lati-han, like in the unknown. And so what we get from each other is like fearless communication.
Now that's the thing that Leanne is talking about. Some of the people that come to her don't have fearless communication because they don't know what they want.
Right.
So it's almost like doing values clarification. Like, you know, in the 70s, there was all these values clarification courses and encounter groups where people were finding out who they were. It's almost like people need to go back to their drawing boards and find out, like, who am I in the matter of this, that, the other? What do I need and want? Because you had already done the work. We both, look, we also should say we're both, aside from the fact that we both have done ISDA, we're both tantrikas and have done sacred sexuality. We've both done the Landmark Forum. We've done the whole curriculum for living. We've done all that stuff. Mike's done a whole bunch of other courses where he found out who he was.
Yeah.
And I found out who I was. So when we came together, it made it easier than it may make it for most people because we were sovereign.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, it's such a good point is, you know, there's the place where, yes, you've done all this work and you sort of come into it from a place of knowing and awareness and having tools and all of this. And then you have a whole bunch of people that are not in that place. They weren't really, they didn't have good communication modeled for them. We don't teach it in school. There's a lot of, white lies are okay, this kind of thing sort of that goes around in our society, which is more like, don't actually tell your partner the whole truth. So people are dating with that premises right off the bat, where they're hiding part of who they are. They're not even fully aware of who they are, what their boundaries are, what their values are. I mean, I always find that an extremely interesting conversation with people. Is like, what are your top 5 values? And they're like,
Duh.
I don't know.
whoa, right? They're like, what are yours? It's like, there they are, right?
The best exercise that I found for that, and forgive me for interrupting.
Yeah, no.
The best exercise I found for figuring out what it is that you desire in your own life is what I call the lottery exercise. Like, have you ever thought about what it would be like to win the lottery, the big one?
Oh, yes.
Like, then you start going through the list of all the things that you would do if you had that money, right? If you could take that and put it into your own life in the world of relationship, let's say you hit the lottery in relationship, like you met the one, what would be all the things that you would desire to have in your life? Because you're like now 100 millionaire in the world of relationship.
And what would you be like, absolute no time for?
Yeah.
Like not doing that.
Happening. This is, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Like, I know for a fact I'm not going on motorcycles anymore. Sorry, everybody who's listening last one. He will, but I won't. I've seen too many things.
Yeah.
So I made a decision early on, not that, but other things, yes. I like rides. I like going on,
She likes roller coasters.
upside down and downside up. I like that stuff. He doesn't like that. So I stand at the edge of the Grand Canyon. He stands back.
I mean, yes.
Quick away.
It would be terribly boring, I think, to date yourself.
Right.
Some people are like, I wish I could find someone more like me. And I'm like, do you really? Because you would probably drive yourself nuts.
Yes.
In reality.
I wanted to say that one of the things we're doing during this coronavirus time is I'm reading my book, Sex and Happiness, into a microphone. And
Audio.
We're going to put it on audiobook on Audible. And so I'm reading it again. And I started writing it in 2002 or 2001. But anyway, it got published like 2006. And wow, I'm reading it, and everything we're talking about, I wrote about.
Yeah.
So the thing about this thing with relationships and telling white lies that you said, like, most of the time when people first meet, they're hiding who they are from the other because they're afraid they won't be loved for who they really are.
Totally.
And so the first few months, or maybe even the first year of that phase of falling in love is like fake stuff.
It is, yeah.
The real people show up when the first crisis erupts. And in many people's lives, this is the crisis right now.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So, it's just like I'm reading it and I'm going like, wow, I was really smart. Just like, like it's really, as Michael and I look at, he's listening to me with the headset on, and he's telling me when I make a blooper, start again. Yeah. And I'm just like sitting there going like, wow, this stuff is good. Yeah. This is everything we're talking about in our course. This is everything we're talking about right now. Like, don't fake people. No. They know anyway. The point is that they, first of all, when they find out that they've been gypped, or they've been manipulated, they don't feel good about it. And second of all, if we continue to hide it, they find out anyway. And then 2 people are playing this stupid avoidance game.
Totally.
So not a good strategy, not good at all.
It's kind of ironic, right? Because, they're doing it as a protection mechanism, but in the end, it actually ends up being the thing that will cause you that pain and disharmony in a relationship inevitably, right? Whereas when, you're just who you are authentically right off the bat, these are my boundaries, this is where I am, no matter how weird and bizarre you think you are, there's somebody like you, trust me on this. I mean, everyone's like, I'm have such a unique situation, no one could possibly get me, right? I have a lot of clients like that, very, like outgoing, amazing, really dynamic people, right? And they think they're too much. But the thing is, I'm like, this is your best filter in the entire universe. Be who you are straight off the bat. Either someone's going to love you and want you and like, boom, or they're going to be like, you're not my cup of tea. In which case, now you're not wasting 1, 2 dates, 3 months, 6 months, 5 years, 10 years,
Exactly. Well, so let's now apply that to the coronavirus. Let's take that wisdom. No, really, it's the same thing. If I'm the partner who has the compromised immune system and he's the partner that we're not, but just for argument's sake, and he's the partner who doesn't want to be intimate with me during this time because I could unwittingly, unintentionally, not on purpose, give him something that he doesn't want to get.
Or vice versa.
This too shall pass, and we can make it through this time, whatever the time is.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
There were people who used to go off to war. In the old days, there were people who went up, and in some of the new days, who go off to war for a couple of years, and their relationship still weathers the test of time. Like, let's not take this so personally. Let's lighten up a little bit and say, okay, I respect you.
Yeah. And where can you be creative or self-care too in that situation? Like maybe, the intimate touch is off the table, but Fred here is like, webcams are hot, right? Like why, have a sexy photo shoot from afar, or like there's just, there's the energetic sex, and there's, you can do some eye gazing, deep conversations, as Michael said. Like there's so much room for just really juicy. I think when we're talking about sexuality, people are often thinking destination, orgasm, the physical touch. But I think there's so much in that realm that is just so beautiful and fulfilling. And often in our society, that gets lost in the conversation. Like it's almost like with sort of all the pornography and stuff, we've sort of gotten to this, point where we're often just talking about the destination being the orgasm versus all the beautiful stuff that fills up that entire space before you get there.
Right.
Well, that's a lot what, that is really a lot what Extraordinary Lovers is about, because we teach people how to talk about sex before, during, and after. And the before could be a very long stretch.
Right. Yeah.
Before could be a long time, and there could be so much juice in that. I was once away for 5 weeks. Do you remember that?
I do.
I was on a world tour with Om Rupani, my other teaching partner, and I was doing some ISTAs and some Tantra meets BDSMs in Australia, Bali, New Zealand. We were in that part of the world, and so I was away for a long time.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a day or a night that went by where I wasn't in touch with Michael, giving him something, whether it was like little 2-minute porn clips that I had seen that were things I wanted to try, or whether it was things like, oh, I thought this was so hot, this made me think of you, whatever. I didn't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
But there were moments where I could just like get away from everybody else. And I was in a big Airbnb with about 6 other people. And I just said, no, I'm going upstairs. I need to communicate with Michael. I didn't know what time it was here.
Yeah.
All I know is what time it was in Australia, and I was like on there writing to him, whatever. So people get creative. You all have creative. Listen, if you're not being creative, it means you're not juicing up your sexual energy, because that is your creative energy. So
it is.
Touch yourself, for Christ's sake.
It's our fertility.
And after you do that, let your creative energy rise up and make it all the way to your head, and then use your head.
Yeah.
Yes. Daniela here says your book is good. Yay.
Hi, honey.
And Nadine says to try toys with apps. That's true. We're very technologically advanced these days.
Yes.
Janice is with you guys on the motorcycles. Apparently they scare her, and her boyfriend loves to ride.
Yeah, it's a guy thing, I think.
I don't know. I have a lot. Marilyn DiMartini is a motorcycle mama. No, I have a lot of women friends who have motorcycles too. But I've been in the car behind things that happened.
Yeah.
I saw things and I don't want to see those things.
She has a healthy fear.
I have a healthy fear of motorcycles.
Yeah, it can definitely be polarizing. I know people that have had motorcycle accidents in their families and stuff, and it definitely changes. It can change perspective.
Yeah.
But I myself grew up with motorcycles. My grandparents, I didn't realize how unusually lucky I was, but my grandparents rode Harleys.
Oh, wow.
So they owned a Harley Davidson shop. Yeah. And so I used to get to ride on their motorcycle like all the time.
Wow.
And I had no idea until I became a grown woman how exceptionally cool it actually is to have a grandma that wears leathers. And, you know, and they were pretty conservative, I always thought, right? And then I remember, like, you know, when she passed, I remember just sitting there at her funeral going, you were kind of a little bit of a wild woman. Like, I did not just I was just not the wild, you know, animal sort of born into this family. I think my grandma had a bit of that going on before me.
Great. All right, well, let's see if anybody has any questions.
So
That's what I was thinking. I'm not seeing any questions come up. So if anybody is on and they have a question, we do have people on live with us.
Yes.
So if there's any questions, feel free to type them, and we will answer them. Otherwise, you can always ask questions still on the feed, and I mean, we can always sort of come back and sort of check on the feed as well. And if there's anything coming up, we can also type in the answers and provide you guys with more information.
Yeah.
You know,
do you mind if we share real quick about our this weekend? We've got a special event coming up. We've never done this before, and we're really excited about it. It's the Extraordinary Lovers Experience online. And so a lot of the stuff that we're talking about right now, actually, we're going to be talking about in depth over the weekend. It's 2 days.
Beautiful. So, yeah. And I'm hoping that someone can connect with you if they're resonating with you, but we have an agreement to do no sales on these calls.
Oh yeah, we're not out to sell this.
No promo. So yes. Thank you. And
thank you for your boundary.
Beautiful example of a boundary. Thank you, Leanne.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm getting better and better each and every day.
Well, that's
perfect
good.
Example. Thank you.
If you can do it with us, you can do it.
You know what? I have to say, I'm pretty darn good at boundaries these days.
That's good.
You know, and I really I look at my younger self, and I mean, she would just probably be horrified getting to know me, probably horrified and enamored all at once. Because there's no way, I don't think my younger, 12 to 16-year-old self would ever see this projection in the future. But isn't that the interesting thing about life, eh?
It's interesting in the sense that I don't really remember what it's like to be a 16-year-old anymore.
I don't know if I really do either.
It was such a different world and such a different time, and all everything about it. We didn't have internet. This was not available when I was 16.
The other day I was playing him old Frankie Avalon and Fabian songs, and he said to me, "My God, they were so innocent. They were so naive about love and stuff." And I said, "Yeah, I know that. Welcome to my world."
Right? Okay, Nadine would like to know the name of your book again, Laurie.
Uh-oh. It's called Sex and Happiness, the Tantric Laws of Intimacy.
And I'm pretty sure you can just go onto your website and it's there, right?
On my website, yeah. And but you should know that I'm writing a new one called Sex and Happiness Over 60. It gets better.
Ooh, what a great topic.
Yeah. It's going to be, it's really, a lot of people feel like when they hit 50 or 60, that's
done.
It. Gone, they're dried up, they're over the hill, and I'm just like, what are you talking about?
I love it.
So my sexual drive and my sex life is better than it ever has been, and so that's why I'm writing that book. It's also about trying all kinds of new things, never stopping.
Yeah,
that movement is life. So that's almost finished, and then we're putting the former one on Audible because people have asked me before, but of course, who's ever had the time to do that? Now I do. So Michael's
so true.
I was going to have someone else read it.
You know what's
Yeah.
crazy? I just want to throw this in here. Once we forced ourselves to not be out there doing all the things all the time, the time came up and we were able, she got this thing read, I'm not kidding, in as little as like, I think 5 or 6 days. And it's
Really?
yeah, it's this
Wow.
chapters or 11 chapters.
I was
think.
doing this,
It's amazing.
my mouth was so dry and things were happening. I was having like acid reflux and he could hear it on he was like, you're so funny. I was like, oh, anyway, it was a great experience because I got to like hear it.
Yeah.
And I got to say, wow, it's still so relevant. Like I was, I finally at that point had pulled my head out of my ass, It was like really good.
I kind of don't think this stuff gets unrelevant though. I think that's the thing. I think it's rather timeless. Like I always say, truth is truth is truth.
Mhm.
And there's something just so essential about truth that the core of it doesn't change. It's still useful no matter how much technology might change things or society might shift. There's real basics that we just come back to again and again and again. And if we stop coming back to those, then that's where you start to see things fall apart, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, one of the things, let's go back to the early questions again about the couples, like what do they do if they're in this situation or that? One of the quotes in my book is from a Tantra teacher who's no longer on the planet. He died, let's see, I started Tantra in 1996, so maybe he died in 1998 or 2000, like right around there. His name was Barry Long, and he was from Australia. And basically what Barry Long said, to me, like the Barry Long quote of Earth is, in order to make love, you have to make love. So it's not, it's not all the qualifications. Is this person looks perfect, sounds perfect, is perfect, does perfect. No, he didn't say all that. You have to measure the person. And no, you and I have to come from a place of making love. I look at making love to life. I look at making
Totally.
love in the unknown, making love. And so I feel like whatever anyone's tension is right now going on with the coronavirus,
Yeah.
if you come back to love and you give this person the benefit of the doubt and you give this person space and you give yourself the benefit of the doubt and you give yourself space, or these people, if you're in a multi-pod, you give them all space and you come from love and you make love to them in whatever form you're permitted right now. Maybe it's long distance, maybe it's webcam, maybe it's whatever. If you make love, you will make love.
Yeah, it's totally true.
Get loved, you'll get the love that you're making. The Beatles said, and in the end, the love you make is equal, the love you make is equal to the love you take. So it's like coming from that place. I never realized that the Beatles and Barry Long. Anyway.
The theme.
But those are my favorite quotes. That's like when anyone asks me my favorite quote, it's the Beatles. That's where you got to be coming from. And and to me, that's the answer. Yeah. So it's self-love, and then it's other love, and then it's love.
Yep, it's totally true. Well, it's funny because when I meet people and they're like, oh, intimacy, oh, it must be sex. And I'm like, actually, no, like I teach people how to be intimate with their life, with themselves, with others. And basically it's just making love to life, making love to yourself. Oh, yeah. Yes, I can come out I'm almost done and then I'll make you a snack. Oh, you can get it? Okay, she can get it. Do you want to say hi to everyone quick before I end? Yeah, you want to say hi?
How nice.
Well, she's always kind of in the background, right? But it's like, might as well just bring her to the forefront here for a moment. You want to say hi to Laurie and Micheal?
Hi.
You see there? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are you being shy? Oh, she usually loves the camera. She was on a call the other day and she's like,
well, yeah. I like your jammies. Those are cool.
This is nice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mom got this dress for $3.99 at the store. I was like, wow, I didn't even know you could buy clothes for $3.99.
Mom, have you met these people?
I've met Laurie in person. Mike just meeting him online. You can't press that because that's my volume.
We've met before. We met in Seattle,
Yeah.
outside of Seattle.
Yeah. But I have not met Micheal in real life.
Why?
Is that what you're asking? Well, I'm sure maybe I will meet him one day. I don't know, in real life. I don't know.
Probably.
Is there anything you want to tell anybody about relationships? Any advice that you have, like how to get along with people or what to do if you're feeling upset or anything like that? You can't be doing that.
I don't know what to say.
You don't know what to say? We don't have to say anything.
It's okay. We waved to you and we're happy that you came on the camera. Hi.
Okay. Well, thank you guys so much. And I appreciate having another chit chat with you. It was fabulous.
Me too.
Yeah, me too. It was a lot of
Thank
fun.
you so
Thank you,
much.
Leanne.
And thank you everybody who came on and was on Facebook Live with us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Apparently, Fred says milk and cookies help. Well, Fred, she wants cheese a lot right now. That's where we're at. We're at the cheese thing. Okay, let's wave goodbye to everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Oop, I'm about to press.